Organizations, governmental units, and individuals can be excluded from participation in federal awards, sub-awards, and certain types of federal contracts if they are suspended, debarred, or otherwise excluded from participation in federal spending. Grant recipients can find out who is excluded from participation by checking the Excluded Parties List system. The EPLS is the comprehensive list maintained by the federal government containing names of individuals, organizations, and governmental units that are prohibited from participating in federal procurement and non-procurement transactions. This list is updated continuously by various federal agencies. To check the Excluded Parties List system, go to www.epls.gov. There you will be able to query on both simple searches and advanced searches. For example, you can search on the individual or organization name, the taxpayer identification number, also known as TIN, or other types of criteria. Both recipients of federal awards and federal agencies are required to check the Excluded Parties List system at various points in time. For federal agencies, these points include checking before approving any primary tier covered transaction, such as a grant, cooperative agreement, or contract. They also include checking the principal individual involved in a primary tier covered transaction. The agency is also required to check lower-tier participants or principals when agency approval is required for the lower-tier transactions. An example of this might be a sub-award or other contract that requires agency approval. For contracting officers at a grant recipient, there are also several milestones that require checking the EPLS. Think of this process with a primary objective towards making sure funds do not flow out to an excluded party. The first place a contracting officer must check the Excluded Parties List system is at the opening of bids or receipt of proposals. The contracting officer must check the EPLS again immediately before letting out the work or awarding any new work to make sure nothing changed since the bid was opened. The documentation to show you checked the Excluded Parties List system is concerned with both when you checked and who you checked. Therefore, it is important that you include both the date checked and the criteria used in the query. An easy way to document this is to print the results of the query from your web browser. This will show both the date stamp and the query criteria. Remember, this topic is a favorite of auditors, so put the documentation in a place it can be easily accessed for both auditors and agency requests.